Let's show. Mm-mm. All right. And I'm going to give myself another 30 seconds because I can do that. Let's go. Hello, good night, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are chiming in this evening for our official travel talks, tricks, tips, and tea with me. You guys know I am Flora Singh from Sing Tours International, and I am always looking for a way to bring you guys the latest updates and information as it relates to travel in the world. Good evening. We have the world renowned Jill Maddox on the live with us. Good evening, everyone. Please drop in the chats where you are chiming in from, so we can give you a good shout out tonight. I have been getting a lot of messages and people saying, "Oh, I want to be on there. I want to know about Italy." I did not know so many people was interested in going to Italy. I'm like, wow, we definitely need to do something. That's right. We got New Jersey, Hackettstown, New Jersey on the live tonight. We also are streaming live on YouTube as well. So to my YouTube family, good night, and welcome. Please like, comment, and share. Please share this broadcast. It is going to be very informative. We will have a part where you can ask some questions, and to the best of our ability, we will answer them as much as possible. And if time does not permit, if we have to come back and do a part 2, then that's what we will do. So I am excited about the live, and I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I am excited about my special guest tonight. She is not a stranger. Hey, Relaxation with Rain, Jamaica. We got Jamaica on the live tonight. I had someone message me from Africa in my inbox saying, "Hey, I want to know about Italy. I'm in Africa and I want to travel to Italy." I'm like, wow. So we are definitely reaching people all over. We don't take the platform lightly. That's why we always want to make sure we sharing real time, real information with you so that it can help you while you are going on your travel journeys, whether you travel with Sing Tours International, because you know when you travel with Sing Tours, you're traveling with the best. But if you want to do it on your own, you can. And hopefully this live will help you make that decision to go forward and travel to Italy. So without further ado, like I said, I have my special guest on here. Her name is Crystal. She is coming all the way from New York City. Hey, do we have any New Yorkers? Any New Yorkers on the live? All right, we got another Jamaica on the live. All right. So Crystal and I have worked together in the past. It has been an amazing relationship and friendship that has been created back in 2000. Was it 2000?
It was like 2020, around 2020 or
Yeah, I'm thinking
2019.
2020. Yeah. So it's from 2020 up until now, we stayed in contact. She's always on the lives, and she just recently went to Italy. And most of you don't know this, before my 45th birthday, which was last year, I really wanted to go to Italy, and I never went. So it has been like something in me that's like, you have to get there. You have to get there. Now, I've been to Paris, I've been to Europe, London, and all of that, but I never made it over to Italy. So it's like, I have to go. So, without further ado, what we're going to do is going to be conversational. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop in your message. And we're just going to talk a little bit about Crystal's experience. And listen, we're going to keep it real with you, right? It's easy to tell you, oh, go to Italy. It's so nice. Everything is so sweet. And they're going to treat you so this and this and that. You don't have nothing to worry about. And then you get there and you got something to worry about. So Crystal's going to tell us a little bit about her experience. So, Crystal, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for the invite.
I really appreciate you for taking out this time and just sharing your experience. So you just recently went to Italy. Why did you choose Italy? What was so good about Italy for you to go there?
So Italy, it's always been on my list, but it's like in the back burner of the list. But my family started this thing where each one of us takes turn to bring my mother to a destination. So last year she went to Paris. So this year was my turn. So I took her to Italy, and it just all came, all of a sudden. It was just like, oh, why don't we go to London? But I've been to London. Why don't we go to Germany? Well, I don't know about Germany. Well, but what about Italy? She's like, okay, let's go to Italy. So that's how we kind of decided. It was like all of just in a spur of a moment kind of thing. We're like, okay, let's go.
Okay. All right. Well, look, that sounds good. And then listen, for those of you who don't take spontaneous trips or make plans to travel yearly, that might be something you might be interested in. You might not go as far as going to Italy, but if you're in the US or if you're in Jamaica or anywhere, start trying to find different places that you can say, you know what, once a year, I'm going to do something. And I think it's really cool that you decided. Now, is it just you who take your mom away once a year, or is that something that you and your family do collectively?
We're doing it collectively. So this year was my year to take my mom, just me and her, having some mother and daughter time, spending it together overseas, just experiencing the moment. So yeah.
Oh my God, can somebody please tag Juanita? Like, somebody tag my daughter. I think this is something that this should go viral. All the mothers out there that believe that their daughters or their sons should invest in taking you away somewhere once a year. I think that's a good thing. We should get that to start trending. But I think that's really dope that you did that with your mom and your other do you have sisters or just sisters or brothers or?
Yes, I have two sisters. Okay. So last year, one of them brought her to Paris.
Oh, okay. We got Roselle in here. Listen, a person like me, I'll be sitting back, and this is so terrible. I'll be sitting back like, oh, so you took mommy to there? Watch me next year.
And I try to up her game and be like, well, let me take my aunt too. But then my aunt was like, nah, it's all right.
Oh goodness. Oh God. Well, listen, that I think that's amazing. Life is, as we were talking, we just got a chance to connect in New York City and over the last weekend, and it was really great at a really good Italian restaurant. Yes, hashtag mommy vacation. We got to connect and talk and just talking about life itself, right? How it's precious. And, during these times, we've learned throughout the pandemic that we can't take people and places for granted. So being able to sow back into your family and sow back into yourself, however you feel, sowing into you, what that looks like for you. And for them, they chose to take trips. So I think that's really cool. So you chose Italy. It was on the back burner. You brought it to the front. So coming from New York. So now I want to touch base about this from two perspectives, if you don't mind. Originally, where are you from? Are you originally from New York or?
So I was born in Hong Kong. So, okay. But I came here very, very little, like 5 years old. So technically it's just, I'm a New Yorker. Whenever I go back to Hong Kong, it's like, okay, well, you're not really a Hong Kong person because you don't have that vibe. You don't have that aura. You're more of a New Yorker than a Hong Kong person. So, yeah.
Okay. So when you travel, the reason why I asked that is because we have people that are here in the States and people that are coming from other places, and they may have a passport that is not a U.S. passport. So when you travel, are you if you don't mind, do you travel with a U.S. passport, or do you have a passport that's from Hong Kong? And the same for your mom.
U.S. passport. It's all
US
U.S. passport for both of us. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll talk from a U.S. perspective, right? So I wanted to be sure that she didn't have like a different passport from another country, because then you guys know I'm all into the whole, how to travel when you're from somewhere else, because there's certain stipulations, right, and certain protocol that you have to follow when you're actually traveling from somewhere outside of maybe like the US or the UK and things like that. So one thing you want to keep in mind is knowing what are the requirements to actually travel to a place like Italy based on where you're traveling from. So coming from the US, is there anything special that we need to travel to enter into Italy, visas or anything like that?
Well, nothing in that sense. I didn't do any visas or anything of that. The only thing that I did, and it's going to be very helpful if you don't have it already, is the TSA pre-check. That's what I did, and it got me through security so quick with JFK, because I flew out from JFK, and it was like one of the busiest terminals that I flew out from, and at the busiest time, pretty much. So getting that TSA pre-check, that is something that that was very helpful for me. And then coming back, I also got the mobile app, what's called the mobile command passport or something of that sort. That also was a very quick process, and it got me through, I would say 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes or so. So yeah, it's just with those two gets you going.
Okay, so look, I want to talk about that a little bit and bring a little light to those that are watching, right? So everyone know I always talk about TSA pre-check. I talk about global entry. Those things are your claim to fame, and I'll tell you why. Because lately, travel is at an all-time high. Whether you're traveling domestically or you're traveling internationally, you get to the airport. Hey, O'Neill, shout out to New York. We have another New Yorker on the line. If you are traveling internationally or even domestically, I've been seeing that the lines are like kind of wrapped around the terminal. So to be able to go in and bypass the line and have TSA pre-check, it takes waiting an hour plus to something like 30 minutes or less. Like, it's like the best thing. You don't have to take off things and shoes and belts and all of that. It just makes it a very smooth transition. So TSA pre-check, I think it's good if you just know you're not going to travel internationally. Now, you guys have heard me say in the past, I have global entry. So TSA pre-check is roughly about $85, if I'm not mistaken, to have it. But global entry is $100. That's an extra $15. And now you can actually fast track through customs when you're coming back internationally. So that too. So when you're thinking about it, think about either TSA pre-check or go the route of global entry. And then as Crystal mentioned, there is also a mobile app that you can download when you're coming back home from an international trip, where you can fill out all the information, and that too helps you bypass the line. It's all about knowing how to get through the airport as quickly as possible, because that line can be horrendous. So keep those in mind. So that's cool. So there was no visa that you needed. You pretty much just booked your trip. You had your passport, and everything was good to go.
Correct.
All right. So how was it once you landed in Italy?
Oh, it was amazing. The weather was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It was really hot. It was really hot for me. Well, yeah, because I had a jacket coming from New York, because New York has in May, because I went from, I say, 60-ish degrees or maybe 70-ish degrees, going to Venice. The first stop was Venice for me. That was like 70 to 80 degrees. So it was hot. It was hot. And I had a denim jacket on. So yeah, but the view was amazing. I kind of described Italy as just the magical place, this magical place that I want to be back in, even though I'm
Mhm.
back in New York City for like almost 2 weeks already. I just want to be back in Italy
Oh,
and
wow.
just stay there.
Wow. So the weather was nice. So it was hot there. Um, would you say, hey, Jessica, we have Jessica from Jamaica on now as well. So the weather was beautiful in Italy. Um, so do you think that the time that you went, like the time of year, did you do research on when would be a good time to go? Like, why did you choose this time versus another time?
Well, I did do some research. The main reason why I chose this time was because it was between Memorial's Day. So I had an extra day of
Mhm.
paid time off. So, that aside. But when I was doing research, a lot of people did mention that um, around May is where it's a good time to travel to Italy because there's not really a lot of tourists and it's
Okay.
not too hot and it's not too cold because it's right in between. So that's also one of the reasons why I chose Italy because, people are saying, hey, it's a good weather, it's not too many people, and happens to be right in between Memorial's Day and I happen to have, vacation time. So that's also one of the reasons why I chose that.
Okay. Listen, it's very good to maximize your time. It's nothing like going on a trip and it's like it's overly congested with tourists, and then it's like you're waiting on long lines. I know, like you said, it was beautiful. We talked a little bit about like the architecture of the buildings and everywhere you look, and it's like, trying to get that perfect picture and then take and really feel the vibe of the scenes and everything. You want to be mindful of that, right? Because once it's too many people, a lot is going on, and it was something else I was getting ready to say to you in regards to that, but it'll come back to me. So the time of year, being strategic about it, good weather, so you got to enjoy the weather. That's what you said. You said that was my first stop. So did you make multiple stops while you were on your trip?
Yes, I did make multiple stops. So the first stop was Venice, and then we took the train to Florence, did a side stop into Pisa, and then went back to Florence, and then into Rome. So I did a whole week in Italy with those four destinations.
Okay. So you really just took my best of both worlds trips to the next level. So I always tell people my best of both worlds trips is when you go somewhere and you have a connection somewhere that you always wanted to go. So you get to go there, have a long layover and enjoy it. But it sounds like you were you stayed did you stay at multiple hotels in these different locations?
Yes, multiple hotels in different locations. So
Okay.
the first one, 2 nights in Venice, 2 nights in Florence. I didn't stay in a hotel in Pisa because we only did a half a day tour, and it's
Okay.
easy. It's a very easy half a day or a full day tour from Florence to Pisa because it's only an hour train ride. So very easy if you start early, and then another hotel in Rome.
Okay. So that's a good thing, because then when you're planning these type of trips, and I always say when you go places like that, you want to really be able to like really get the best of your trip. So for me, my plan is definitely when I go to Italy, I'm going to do Venice, I'm doing Rome, I'm going to the Amalfi Coast. Like I already have it planned. And so because I'm open, so you have to be open to how you move around. I don't plan to drive while I'm there, but I do plan to do things like the ferries. I plan to do the like you mentioned, the train. So of course,
Mhm.
coming from New York City, you're used to a train, so it's like, hey, let's try this train. So just giving people that. Think about that, right? You don't have to say I'm traveling to this destination. I only have to stay one place. And a lot of times, sometimes we travel and it's like, oh, I have to unpack in this. When I travel like that, I already have the mind of I'm going to be moving around. And you just kind of get the best out of, all the different places that you have stopped at. So out of all the different locations, which one kind of stood out to you the most?
I have to say it's Venice.
Okay.
Venice is very different from a normal, like the normal city view that we have in mind. So Rome is kind of like New York City, Manhattan. I call it Manhattan on steroids because there's a lot of people, and it was just kind of crazy for me. Even coming from New York City, Rome was just kind of crazy, and then Florence was kind of like Brooklyn because I'm a Brooklyn girl. So I come from Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn. So yeah. Florence is kind of like Brooklyn, where there's still a lot of people, there's still a lot to see, but it's a little bit more slower pace than Rome. And then you got Venice. Venice is just chilling because there's no cars, there's no bikes on those islands, unless you're going into the mainland of Venice. But where we stayed was the islands, the different islands that you can easily walk from one to another. So there's no cars, there's no bikes. It's all on foot. You're walking pretty much everywhere you're going. So I like Venice. We also got to experience the gondola rides, which was pretty amazing. There was no singing involved unless you want to pay an extra fee. There was no singing involved yet, but the view was great. The boats were really nice, but really deep. I almost tripped.
But, listen, when I go, I'm gonna have to pay that extra money because I want him to be like, "When the moon hits the eye like a big." Did they say that? That's the wrong song. They gonna sing to me, honey. I'm a temple. Like, you gonna sing the day anime? No, okay.
Listen, but yes, they do need an extra fee when they want, when you want some singing involved.
Okay. That for me, I want to do that. I literally, because I didn't go to Italy last year, I was going to go to Vegas and go stay at the Venetian. Yes, I was, just so that I can have that ride, so that I can have that experience.
It is so different. It is so different.
Oh goodness. So let's talk about finances, like money. Like when you're there, is it more expensive when you're in Italy? Like when you think about your spending and your conversion, like how did you convert your money when you got there?
So a lot of the things when I'm in Italy, a lot of the tours, a lot of the train rides, I already paid for it in advance. So you buy it in advance, and I highly recommend you, if you're going on these different tours, or if you're going to see very famous places like the Colosseum or the St. Mark's Basilica, those things, buy your ticket in advance. They have those skip the line tickets. Do those, because you're going to be waiting in line in the hot sun for 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes to an hour, if you don't buy those things in advance. So yeah, just buy them in advance. And I use my credit card for the most part. And you get one of those credit cards that does not have any transaction fees or foreign transaction fees. So it's easy to be there, pay it, and then you go. Another thing that I learned is that when you pay with your credit card there, they'll ask you, do you want to pay it in euro or do you want to pay it in US dollars? And you always want to do the euros rather than the US dollars, because the exchange rates are kind of crazy. So I don't like to do math. I know I'm Asian. I don't like to do math, especially when I'm on vacation. So I'll just be like, here's my card, do it in euros.
Wow. So I'm gonna jump in because you just said some really good stuff that when you're traveling, hey, Elder Roland, how are you? Yes, this is some good information. You mentioned the transaction fee. That is so important because I often tell people, so, I'm the queen of Jamaica and I'm always telling people Jamaica. But And I always tell them, don't change your money inside of the airport because you lose your value of your dollar, right? It loses its value. You end up getting less than what you would expect, right? So sometimes pulling money out the ATM works. Another thing that I would also encourage people is when they give you the option to pay in the local currency versus US, you'll notice that it works better in your favor. So I was glad that you just mentioned that. And then understanding your bank cards, your debit cards, your credit cards, if they have take the ones that have no transaction fee. You don't want to pay for something for $50 and then that place charge you a fee, and then the US charges a fee as well, right? So you do that, and then basically what happens is you're paying more than you actually need to, right? So I guess Crystal, she's probably having some issues with her connection, but she'll connect back in a moment. So I'm going to go to the chat. So far, how's this information? Do you guys find it helpful? Is there any extra questions that you might want to ask when Crystal? Okay, she's back. That Crystal May can answer too. Feel free to chime in, and I'll at some point be able to bring those questions up. So, okay, so Roland, she actually, I'm connected. She works at the bank, and she just gave some really good information. She said that you can also order the euros from the bank before you actually leave. So that too cuts back. When you get on these trips, you want to be ready to hit the ground running, trying to figure out how to change my money, trying to figure out how to do this and all of that. It takes away from your time. And if you don't have a travel agent that is assisting you, you're having to do it on your own. And I commend you, Crystal, you did it on your own. So no, she didn't use my company. She did it on her own. But I will say she does listen to the travel tricks, tips, and tea for things to do when she travels, right? So I tell you guys all the time, these things are beneficial. Listen to the lives, and maybe something on it that can help you be a solo traveler, be a traveler on your own, or help you choose an agent. But anyway, so we talked about the transaction fees. We talked about getting the finances and money. Is it safe to carry money in Italy? What are your thoughts about that?
50-50. So yes, it's safe. When I like to, so this is just me. I don't like to put everything in one pot. So, all of your money, try to keep it separate. So I have some, my mom has some, and so try to keep it separate. And I always have some emergency money as a backup. So what I did is that I have my stack of money. My mom had her stack of money. I mostly use my credit card just because.
Stack of money? Can I get it? Oh, all right. Sorry. Okay. You were talking about stacks. I was like, stack of money. Jeez, I'm about to roll with Crystal. They got stacks.
Wow, that's a tiny stack right there.
A stack is a stack. It's all good. So go ahead. Sorry.
But you gotta, live just, you live just once. So you're going to Italy, you're gonna have to spend some, and then when you come back, you're gonna earn some. So that's how I like it. So when you're there, you always want to have some emergency money as well. So keep some separate. What I did was, and I'm always using what I did because that's from my experience. I had 100 euros, just 1 or 2 bills of 100, and I keep it in a little pouch inside. So when I was doing research for Italy, I've heard a lot of things about pickpockets. I've heard a lot of things about people coming up and robbing you, scams, all of that. So what I did, me trying to be smart, I bought stuff on Amazon. It was like pouches, those RFID pouches, stash bands that you can wear inside your clothing. Those are my emergency money. That's where my emergency money is going to go. That's where my passports are going to go. where people are not able to go and grab it. Because we actually had an incident right when I landed, right when I got to Venice, where I'm trying to figure out my way to the hotel, and I heard my mom in the back yelling at someone, and I turned around and this person was trying to take her passport away. And I was like, oh no, this is not going to go well because it's only the first day. But luckily, she didn't get it, it didn't get taken away. She saw it, the passport was already half out of her bag, and she already had her bag inside, covering, and it's covering with her jacket.
Wow.
So it's already like all covered, but those people have a lot of practice. So whenever you guys are going into Italy, make sure you are very careful with your belongings. Keep it in sight at all times, because they have, I don't know how many practices that they have, but they're ridiculous.
Wow. So listen, thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, because so many times when people travel, sometimes they're just so caught up in the awe and the moment of being somewhere new, somewhere different, and they let their guards down. There are professional scammers, professional pickpockets, and this is not us picking on Italy. That's everywhere, like around the corner, down the street from your house. There's professionals there too. So you want to be mindful. And I always talk about things like this. Even, I'm not saying this is in Italy, but I talk about human trafficking. I talk about things like that when you are traveling. Be mindful of it. Listen, mom must have been trained to go, because they tried to pickpocket. She was not having it.
Oh no, she was not.
We ran up on the wrong New Yorker.
She was ready to fight when I turned around. She was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh my God, no, stop!"
Oh
So
God!
she was ready to fight.
Oh God! Shout out, mom! I know it's right. Listen, you're not going to take this one easy, but it goes back to what I always tell people, and really try to encourage people. Two things: whenever you're traveling internationally, you want to make sure, one, somebody back home has a copy of your passport. Two, you want to make sure that you have yourself a copy of your passport in whatever country you're in. Now, I recommend locking your physical passport in a safe. I do. Some people like to carry it. They feel more comfortable. That's your choice. Either you lock your physical passport in the safe and walk around with the copy, so therefore they have nothing they can take and you still can get back home, or vice versa. Make sure you have at least a copy, at the hotel, because should this person have gotten that passport, that would have been a complete war, right? Because automatically they're going to be looking and saying, she looks like she's of Asian descent. You're not really from America. So now there's a whole proving process that I'm a U.S. citizen. That right there can take time, right? And then getting through that, and then, if they take you through the ringer for too long, you miss your flight. It's just things you just don't want to do. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm watching the time. We might have to do a part 2, Crystal, because this is really good and people are enjoying this. So we talked about the process of getting there. We talked about the, moving around and even considering jumping from, place to place, and being open to use the public transportation. You utilized that when you did the actual trains, looking into different. And you know what? I'm going to put some links up. The next live, I'll put up some of the links to some of the gadgets that Crystal brought up, that when you two are traveling, you can have these kind of like secret compartments where you can stash your money and things like that, so that it's not out in the open. And if somebody tries to, be slick and scam and pickpocket, at least you've gone an extra mile to protect your assets. So I thought that was great. How's the food? Like, we can't end this without talking about the food.
The
I mean, not
food.
that I eat any food, but I mean, I'll eat.
The food. The food. I know I use amazing a lot, but it is truly amazing. It is so different from American food. I'm not dissing any American food here, but the pasta is so fresh.
Mm.
The paninis were so good. It was like crunchy, but then it was soft. So good. And then I got hooked on one of their soda. It's a lemon soda. So, in Florence, you're in Tuscany, lemon, Rome, all of that stuff. So I got hooked to that one lemon soda, and I probably drank like 3 per day.
Oh, wow.
And that's a lot.
Yes.
It's literally called lemon soda. So
really?
You guys can look it up on Amazon. I think I looked it up on Amazon. It was like $30-something on Amazon, imported.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's called lemon soda.
Okay.
And it tastes really different from the sodas that's here. Because it has that fresh lemon taste. And it's not too sweet. Where, American soda is kind of like just a lot of sweets in there. But yes, the pasta, the pizza was so delicious. I had this one pizza the last night in Rome, and I don't know what I ordered, but it was like with vegetables on top and then sprinkled with some sausages. And I ate that whole thing by myself, and it was pretty big.
Wow.
For one. And I ate that one by myself. So good. And then,
are you a foodie?
I'm so a foodie. Other than pasta and pizza, the other thing that if any one of you are going to Venice or Italy in general, you have to try their tiramisu. They make it so different.
Really?
So good. There is this one very famous place in Venice, and it was delicious. It's called Tre. I won't butcher this name. Tre Mercanti. That one makes the best tiramisu. You know which one I'm talking about?
Which one are you thinking about?
Tre Mercanti.
Tre Mercanti. No, you know what? When you started like saying like Tre Mercanti, I just thought about it and I was like, wait, we didn't touch base on this. Language. What do they speak? What language do they speak?
A lot of them speak English, yes.
Woo!
But of course, you want to know some basic Italian. The usual good morning, good afternoon, good night, buongiorno, buonasera, where's the bathroom, dove il bagno, those kind of things. And then the one that I spoke the most was para inglese. Can you speak English to start off the conversation?
Para inglese. Listen, now I speak Italian. Anybody that's on here, para inglese. Argue with me. Mercy, buku. No, that's French.
That's French.
God dang it.
Grazie,
well, I'll try every language.
So you gotta say grazie, you gotta say grazie mille, thanks a million. Yeah, but some basic Italian.
Magnifique, c'est bon. Who remember that commercial? I'm ready for Italy. Bellissimo, magnifique, c'est bon, para inglese. Right?
Para inglese.
I just need one more. After that, I speak fluent Italian.
But you know what? When you get there, probably on your second day, you'll think to yourself, I speak Italian very good, because that's how I thought. That's what I thought when I was there. For the second day, I'm like, oh, I understand what they're talking about. Or I understand what I'm reading here. Not really, but you get my point. like you're in that culture. You're hearing all these people talking in Italian. Um, you get sucked into their culture, kind of thing.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you know what? We're going to get ready to wrap up soon, but I know some people are definitely wondering about this. I don't know if you did any shopping. What is shopping like in Italy?
There's a lot of little markets.
Uh-huh.
I like going to those little markets more than the big stores. So of
Okay.
course, you got the brand stores, you got the brand names that might be a little cheaper compared to, the United States. So a lot of people like to go there, but for me, I'm not a brand name girl. So I
Mm-hmm.
like to go to these little markets. There's a lot of leather.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
lot of leather, very nice leather. I actually bought a bag, a red leather bag,
Mm-hmm.
specifically says made in Italy. So I'm like, okay, I got that right. But yeah, shopping, I didn't do much of the shopping. I
Okay.
was just walking around. Window shopping was more my thing, just
Okay.
looking in. But yes.
Okay. So here's something for those of you that love to shop. Um, a lot of the big brands that people may be interested in, it is cheaper to get it from there than here. And then also, when you come back, you could actually let them know when you're coming through customs and actually get duty free. And then you're
Yeah.
able to actually get some money back from what you paid for that bag. So just think of it. You went and you got a Louis Vuitton or something like that, right? You got one of those or Gucci. And here it's $2,000 for it. There it may be $800 for it. And then when you get through customs, you go through duty, you could actually get some money back from
Hmm.
duty because it's considered duty free because you don't live there and you pay the taxes on it. And that's just a hack. But if you listen more to the travel tips, tricks, and tea with me, you'll learn more about that. So listen, this has been a really, really good. I know there's so much more we could talk about. I even wanted to bring up some of the photos that you sent, but because they just take and block me and Crystal face out, what I'll do is, and we're on Facebook, I'll post some of the pictures of places she has gone while she was there. And if you guys enjoyed this live, please share it with somebody. Send me a DM if you want to know more about Italy. Maybe we can possibly do a part two because we didn't even scratch the surface, but we at least gave you guys a little bit of information on what you can do to at least get there, have a good time, prepare and plan your trips. And, because of time, we could talk a little bit more about like what the hotels are like. What is this like? And what's the process? Crystal, I think we might have to do a part two because there's things that me, the travel agent, and a part of my role is always research. I always like to research things, research it, so that when I present it to my client, I'm setting them up for success. And then if I can, I like to travel to a location to establish relationships already. So then it's like, okay, when you get there and you're getting ready to go to this, you're going to see Manuel. He's going to be your guide. So now my clients feel so much more comfortable and confident because it's like it's a direct handoff. It's a direct
Hmm.
connection. It's like, all right, I feel safe moving around. So I would definitely love, if time permits, if we can do it next week, push it back another week, do a part two and kind of talk about like maybe like the hotels and like what the check-in process was and all of that, because I want to know. I know other people would like to know. I don't see any extra questions or comments in here, but I do see people saying this is good stuff. This is good information. Talking about the pizza and the pasta. They really, really enjoy. Is the boat sailing in Venice?
The
Uh,
boats, yes.
yes.
I mean, if
So
you're talking about the gondola, yes. And they
yes.
also have those water taxis that brings you from the airport to the stations to different different stops
Wait,
throughout.
wait, we gotta have a part two. You said a water taxi from the airport to where?
To Venice, the islands within Venice. So it's kind of like a bus, but because Venice is all surrounded by water, they don't have a bus, but they have water taxis. They have water buses and then water taxis, and then they have private taxis, which if you want to go, luxury, that's what you can also get.
Baby, I'm going luxury. I got to do the luxury thing. I need the whole, and I saw something on social media, and there was this girl, and she was looking so fabulous, and she was on this boat, and it was pulling up to a hotel. I just thought that was just for her. Is that for everybody?
I think that's part of like the private taxis, where if you're most of the hotels are probably by a canal or brought by a piece of water. You can have a taxi that goes directly to your hotel.
Wow. Wow.
I see them saying I need to go now.
Yes.
Start booking. It's going to it's gonna, the flight tickets are gonna be expensive, but start booking.
Absolutely. And listen, I always tell you guys different ways that you can actually travel. And I think that was it. When I was going to go for my birthday, the flights were so reasonable. And I just allowed someone else to foot drag. And let me just encourage somebody with this. When you want to go somewhere and it's on your heart to do it, don't let other people cause you to miss opportunity or miss a blessing, because especially if it's somewhere that's dear on your heart, you just have to step out, do your research. If you don't have a travel agent, do thorough research, prep, plan, and just step out on faith and go and explore this world. There's a lot to see, a lot to do. And for myself, back then, it was like the flight had dropped all the way down to like 5 something. And I was like, I need to go. And I was going to go, and I kept putting it off, waiting for another person. By the time I finally said, forget them, I'm going, the flight was almost $2,000. Yeah. I was so sad, because I was just like, even if that's a regular rate, the fact that I missed that 5 something, I just couldn't, it just wouldn't click. So don't be like me. Don't miss opportunity waiting for someone to go with you. If you're passionate about exploring the world and doing things, listen, now is the time. Now is the time to really step out, push forward, live your dreams, see the world, and come share it with people. And hey, if you've gone somewhere exotic and you want to be a guest on one of my broadcasts, I would love to have you on and talk to the people, because you'd be surprised who might be interested in going where you have been. So look, Crystal, I appreciate you. I thank you for your time tonight. I know everyone else has enjoyed this conversation. I will touch base with you and see how we could possibly do a round 2 and just kind of give them a little bit more information. But I think this was a really good start. Is there anything else you want to say before you go? Yes. Just travel when you can and bring your mama. Yes. Travel when you can and bring your mama. Somebody tag Juanita. We are getting ready to go viral. It is officially going viral. Take your mom on a listen. They have Bring Your Kids to Work Day. Bring your mom around the world day. That's it. Take your mom and let her travel. Yes. Oh God. Thank you for sharing your experience. I really appreciate you. Thank you everybody for joining the live. And we will see you again next week when we're talking more travel tricks, tips, and tea with me, Flora Singh. Thank you, Crystal, for joining. I am from Singh Tours International. We are a travel agent company that specializes in creating experiences. So if you don't want to do it on your own, reach out to me or one of my agents and we'll do it for you. Have a great night. Take care.